Wow. Jordan Mason traded to the Minnesota Vikings. This one is wild. We're going to break this down, the implications to Isaac Guerendo, to Christian McCaffrey, to maybe even the likelihood that the Niners draft Ashton Genty in the top at number 11 in the NFL draft 2025 upcoming. I mean, we gotta consider that 11 pick if the Bears would even consider letting him slip past 10. Probably not likely, actually, but with that. But you might think maybe this team's going to draft a running back in the second round. Maybe Hampton, maybe Scattaboo, who we're deathly afraid of landing in San Francisco because that could ruin his potential now value. And we think Scattaboo has tons of now value, needs to land in a place like LV. What's this mean for Isaac Guerendo? What's this mean for Christian McCaffrey? What's this mean for the San Francisco 49ers, who are selling everything left and right? It's a garage sale over in San Francisco. The Fantasy Football Show, the Jordan Mason traded to the Minnesota Vikings show. That show, the emergency live stream show, begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Oh, man, this is gonna be a wild ride. Imagine Hampton in San Francisco. Imagine Guerendo starting in San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey ain't last in the season, so it's Isaac Guerendo's season at some point during the year if they don't draft an elite rookie running back. But if they draft Hampton to be their future, if this team trades, what if they trade Christian McCaffrey? How unlikely is it? How likely is it? It's not like Christian McCaffrey isn't somebody they wouldn't consider trading. This team is not going to compete in 2025. This is a garage sale. They're trying to do everything they can to rebuild. And they might rebuild around Brock Purdy and give him a contract, but maybe they don't give Brock his contract. I did a little, pretend phone session with John Lynch and Brock Purdy yesterday. I put it up on my Instagram. Go check it out. But it goes a little something like this. Let me actually play it for you, because I think this is a pretty important piece of I don't know, take a breakdown.
Brock, it's John Lynch. Yeah, how you doing, buddy?
Oh man, I messed up. Here it is.
It's John Lynch. Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Gonna have a little tough conversation with you. We're not gonna sign you to an extension.
We're not gonna sign you to an extension is what I said. And the reason for that is that we're going to build around you. We're going to try and line your contract up next year with the rebuild instead of signing you now for a nothing burger season. And to be frank, he needs to earn it. Now you could say, oh, Smitty, he already earned it. And you're crazy. You're crazy. He already earned it, Smitty. Whoops. Man, my whole system needs to be restarted. He already earned it, Smitty. He didn't earn it. Last year, Brock Purdy turned back into a pumpkin. You can come in here and say till you're blue in the face that he didn't. You can come in here and say, Smitty, he was great the year prior. We haven't seen Brock Purdy play good football, let alone great football, without Christian McCaffrey and without Trent Williams and without Debo Samuel. Without that tripod of glory. How the hell are we supposed to expect that Brock Purdy, the system quarterback that was surrounded by elite running back one Christian McCaffrey, prime Christian McCaffrey, top 5 to 10 wide receiver, prime Debo Samuel, Ayuk getting into his own top 15 wide receiver at that moment, Trent Williams and the offensive line, one of the better lines in football, one of the best systems in football. I mean, why are we paying Brock Purdy $50 million per year if we're a Niner organization or a fan base? Worst Brock Purdy take of the year. Don't be so hard on your own take, Jolts, because Jolts, I think, is talking about his own Brock Purdy take. That he thinks Brock Purdy deserves $50 million on a team that's rebuilding. That he thinks that Brock Purdy, though it's wise to spend money on Brock Purdy. Don't be so hard on yourself. pal. I know he's a little bit bent out of shape, Jolts, because his team's falling apart, but you don't need to be so mean to yourself. Jolts, love yourself.
Take a big lap. We don't need your hating ass coming back now. Take a big lap. Take one and you don't come.
You don't have to leave, but Jolts, your take about my take being the worst take is probably the worst take I've ever seen this year. If that makes you feel any better, to double stamp your triple stamp, or for me to triple stamp your double stamp rather. You think you're gonna double Quincy me? I don't think so. Not on my show. In fact, Jolts, let me prove something to you.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Let me guess, Jolts. You're too busy right now walking the dog? Let me guess, Jolts, you're unable to call right now because you're making a big pot of chili for the mother-in-law who won't let you have internet access tonight later to watch the later graveyard show. Let me guess, Jolts, you can't call in because the wifey won't let you because you're out of phone time. Jolts, I'm waiting for you. Come into the show, call into the show, and let me know exactly where I'm wrong on Brock Purdy. Fantasy explain me. NFL explain me. Telling me how it's such a bad take. Because I'll tell you what, Jolts. I put this up on my Instagram. Guess who was the first person to say correct take? Don't sign Brock Purdy to a $50 million a year contract. Not now. Don't do it. Guess who was the first person? One of the Quad Box members. Niner fan base. Niner Quad Box. C-Mac. Guess who was second to be in there with a fire emoji? Vladdy. So, me, Vlad, C-Mac 3, and I don't know how Raj is going to feel or what he's going to put out there because he's a Niner page, but that's 3 out of 4 of the Quad Box think that Brock Purdy shouldn't get his contract. I'm waiting. I don't see a phone call yet, Jolts. Are you busy? What's going on here? How come you can't call in? Jolts, are you even responding anymore? Because apparently I had the worst take of the year, and I'm kind of waiting for Jolts to call in and tell me why my take on Purdy's bad. I'm waiting on Jolts to fantasy explain me. I'm waiting on Jolts to give me the knowledge and the power that makes this show better, because apparently this is Mickey Mouse type stuff right here. Apparently I've been wasting my time 25 years professionally, running my mouth, chasing my tail. Apparently I don't know ball. Apparently I don't know contracts. Apparently I don't know how to build a team. I don't see you anywhere, Jolts. There's no ring. There's no dial. There's no take. I don't even see a message. Why don't I get back to doing what I do, Jolts? Bring me cream sugar. Circle back. I don't drink coffee, so when you get here with it, I'm going to throw it in the trash. But go get me a coffee. Okay. Where were we? Woosah. Jordan Mason traded to the Minnesota Vikings. I haven't even gotten into the impact of the Vikings situation. All we are talking because Jolt's running his mouth about my take being bad. This is crazy to me because this is exactly where I told you all for weeks. We need to watch this landing spot, running back landing spot like a hawk. And I didn't think for a second that the Vikings were going to actually trade for a running back. So here we are, expecting a rookie to land quietly in one of the best situations known to man in the NFL for a running back. And it ends up being a trade, an acquisition. It ends up being a moon man from last year. It ends up being one of the players that helped a lot of people win leagues in 2025 because Jordan Mason was our call. Jordan Mason was our call. Where's our Masonite button when we need it? I don't even know where I put it. Jordan Mason. Where's the Masonite button? I don't even know. There it is.
Well, no going back now. You sure you want to do this, Kyle? Yeah, we have to. Let's go. Start the procedure.
more. Is it Garendo? Is Garendo going to the moon? Is it Jordan Mason?
Garendonites unite!
I don't even know where my Masonite Unites button is. That's the Grendonites button, but that's very that's very fitting too. I mean, both these guys, Garendo and Mason, go up in value immediately with this news. But what channel brought you Jordan Mason last year? What channel brought you Jordan Mason and Garendo last year that really helped you get into the fantasy playoffs, lambaste your league mates? And yeah, we wish we got more, finishing product from these guys, because the Niners putting George Mason on IR for what, a banged pinky toe, so that Shanahan could preserve his value. Boy, did this backfire on Shanahan. Shanahan's the worst coach. He's the worst coach. What does he do? Does anybody know the backstory here? Shanahan put Jordan Mason on IR late in the season because he was balling out, and he was able to take an itty-bitty ankle toe injury. Just a little itty-bitty. You think he stubbed his toe getting out of bed. And he said, we can put you on IR, because he was balling. And he's a restricted free agent. So they put the second round tender on him, and they didn't want a team to come knocking. So he lowered his value, took him off the field. Now he's trading him. Probably could have got a little more for Mason had he not done that. But this guy's out of there. Thank God he's out of that pit of collapse and darkness over there in San Francisco, because it's getting dark, it's getting ugly, it's getting gloomy, and it's in rebuild mode. And this guy goes over to a Minnesota Vikings situation that's the starting job is held in check by an old man named Aaron Jones that probably doesn't have a full season left in the gas tank. He just probably does not. He's old now. Let's use the Zigmeister, who we haven't talked to in a while. Ziggy, how old is Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones Sr. is 30 years old and was born on December 2nd.
December, turns 31 during the season. Aaron Jones is 31 years old this year, and he's got a long injury history. This is going to be Jordan Mason's backfield at some point during the 2025 fantasy football and NFL season. I can't promise you when. I can't promise you that he gets a lot of work in week one. I can't promise that they don't split the backfield and Aaron Jones's value's done. I can't promise any of that. I do know that this is a quietly secret weapon, rising, sleeping giant situation for an RB. And we thought it would be a rookie, but it's Jordan Mason. So
let him cook.
who here benefited from Jordan Mason last year?
Mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy.
This is interesting. This is intriguing. This is one of the more secretive situations in fantasy football in the NFL. This is a sleeping giant running back now. This is a team that decided, so they wanted this man so much that they made a trade for him. And here's the compensation. Full trade per sources. This coming from Adam Schefter about 4 minutes ago. Minnesota sends a 2026 sixth-round pick and the number 60 this year to San Francisco. San Francisco sends Jordan Mason and the number 187 to Minnesota. So it's a pick swap and then a sixth-rounder. So not much at all. This is ham sandwich type material. This is giving away Jordan Mason practically nearly for free. And this is a horrible move. If any Niner fan is out there or Niner page out there celebrating this move, they're just supporting their team. Let them be. Let them be. What else are they going to do? You know, how could you even like this trade? How could you like this trade? As a Niner fan, how can you like this trade? You can't. This is a guy that you had so much faith in. And a six-rounder's nothing, by the way. 187 to 160, that's nothing as well. You probably drafted the same player, especially if you're Shanahan and the Niners. You took Ricky Pearsall in round 1 when he was a round 2 wide receiver. You left Ladd McConkey on the board, and you went after Ricky motherfreaking Pearsall in round 1 instead of Ladd McConkey. What good's this move up? I'm a Niner fan, and I hate it, says Sound Grips. There's an honest person for you, stepping forward. Niners do good later in the draft. Poor Philip doesn't know. Does someone want to tell him? Does Philip not understand that the Niners don't do good late in drafts? They had Adam Peters who did good late in drafts. He's now in Washington creating a conglomerate. And Philip, you can't say, oh, well, we do good later, so let's just give up more than we should because we'll do good later. Guess what, Philip? You've got all the picks you can ask for, all the compensation picks. What do you got, 7,000 compensation picks? You got plenty of time to do what you said, do good later. What good is this? This doesn't give you anything. This doesn't give you anything, Philip. And I hate to break it to you, Philip, but Shanahan is not good, even remotely good, early in drafts, and this is still early in drafts. 6 rounders, nothing. Philip, your compensation picks, you can't even keep this 6 rounder. You can't even keep this 6th round pick, Philip, because you're drafting too many players anyway. Everyone you draft in that range is probably getting cut or let go at some point because you got 10,000 compensation picks, Philip. The only move this makes is moving your 187 up to 160 for Jordan Mason. Now, what did Jordan Mason get in this deal? Because we have the Jordan Mason contract. I think it was, $8 million? Let me see if I can pull up the Jordan Mason contract. It's 2 years, $7 million fully guaranteed. Is that what it was? Let me pull up Adam Schefter's report. Because this is important information. What we're about to examine right here determines how much the Vikings believe in him and how much negotiating power Jordan Mason had in this trade to say, I'm not going to sign an extension if you don't give me money. So per this report here, the 49ers are trading Jordan Mason to the Vikings. He gets a 2-year deal with over $7 million fully guaranteed at signing with a maximum value of $12 million. That's a pretty good amount of money, ladies and gentlemen. That's not so much money that they wouldn't toy around with the draft pick late in the 3rd round or something. I mean, this is wild. This is wild. but Juice is more important. Juszczyk is the guy they need to bring in, right? They need to bring back Juice in a year where they can't win. I don't know how does anybody like what San Francisco's doing? If you're a Niner fan, how come you can't just be honest and say, yeah, they're trash right now? What Shanahan is doing is garbage. Let me tell you something really important, because this is going to hurt if you're a Niner fan. Jordan Mason to the moon, you bet your bottom dollar, pal. I mean, this is great news for those of us that have believed in him for well over a year now. Jordan Mason was a moon man. He was an astronaut. He was a physics professor on this channel. Let me tell you something real important for Niner fans out there that don't want to hear the truth. And you can put your earmuffs on and your Niner goggles and your Niner pajamas and underwear and socks and pull them up real nice and tight and go in the other room if you want to live in La La Land. But let me tell you something. Niners aren't winning anything next year. Any move they make with Juice or whatever is a waste of money. They should trade Christian McCaffrey if he's even got trade value, because he's got bilateral chronic Achilles tendonitis. And a true Niner fan, and God bless their soul and bless their heart, they think he's going to have a healthy season. They think he can be healthy for a couple more years. It's wild to me. The fact that they think that Brock Purdy's contract, and he might get it. I'm not sitting here saying they won't pay him. There's a big difference between me saying what they should do and what they will do, because some sort of keyboard warrior is going to come back in here and get shut down pretty quickly once they think they know what Smitty's saying because they didn't listen. And they go, told you he'd get his contract. No one's saying he won't. We're saying he shouldn't. If the Niners were smart, they won't pay Brock Purdy during rebuild year. He's under contract. Let me tell you something very important. He's under contract. And he played like dog water in 2024, as did everybody else, because everyone was hurt. You think you owe Brock Purdy? You don't owe Brock Purdy anything. Brock Purdy didn't play well. If it's me, he plays on his current deal. You could right-size him. Give him $4 million. Give him a $4 million, $5 million in right-size 1-year adjusted offer. Okay? You pay him $4 or $5 million. You wet his beak for a year. You say, prove it to us that going into next year, this is still worth it. We'll give you the money you want. If not, we'll franchise tag you. If you played like dog water, we won't franchise tag you, and you won't get a job if you go anywhere. Jolts, what's even more wild than my dog water comments, that you will not call in. You will not defend your stance. You won't bring any substance to this conversation, but just say, Smitty is giving wild takes. Smitty's comment was dog water. I'm literally waiting for you to dial in and have a discussion with me and provide me a single bit of evidence as to why Brock Purdy deserves $50 million per year when you just wasted $30 million per year on Brandon Ayuk. You're wasting money left and right. You're signing all the wrong guys. You're bringing Juice back, your fullback, who you just cut on a deal when he can't even help you win. What are you spending money on? They're taking everybody out to the shed. This is not a team that's going to win. The Rams own the West. Even the Cardinals are not even a team that could win a Super Bowl. I know that. I don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings. People are like, oh, what about your Cardinals? Apparently you don't understand me, the show, and what hurts me and what doesn't hurt me and what even matters. But what about your Cardinals? What about the Cardinals? What about Kyler Murray? What about your Cardinals, Smitty? The Cardinals are going to be better than the Niners. The Niners are not going to do anything this year, so you can't make moves like this. And somebody call in and argue Brock Purdy. Don't think about it. Just call in. No sweat. Call in and talk about how your precious Brock Purdy in 2023 earned his right to get $50 million per year when he had a system. He was a system quarterback. He's a good system quarterback. He's particularly good in this system. Brock Purdy is a good fit for the Niner offense. I don't think some of you are hearing me. I think some of the misguided Niner people in here don't understand that I'm a Niner supporter. I don't think they understand that we continuously talk up Debo Samuel. Oh, he's gone now, though. We continuously talk up Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerendo. Loved Isaac Guerendo all season long. Loved Jordan Mason all season long. But let me tell you some blunt, honest truth. Jordan Mason shouldn't have been traded. I'll just tell you that right now. But blunt, honest truth. Brock Purdy does not deserve $50 million. And if the Niners pay him $50 million, it will be a joke. It will be a disaster. They have not built around him properly. He has not earned $50 million. This is the last pick in the draft, partly due to the great draft skills of Adam Peters. Adam Peters very much had a lot to do with the Brock Purdy drafting, not Shanahan. Shanahan's job was saved by Brock Purdy and the system. Shanahan tried to unravel everything. Shanahan dragged the Niners down and has been for years. And only now do a lot of Niner fans now agree with me. You will see about 1 out of every 4 versus 0% a year ago. 1 out of every 4, sometimes 2 out of 5. I'm inching closer to 50%. Will agree with me and say, Smitty, you were right, or I'm starting to think you are right about Kyle Shanahan. He is a glorified offensive coordinator. That's offensive coordinating and scheme get us very far, but then his head coaching, which screws up the entire offseason, every offseason, and his head coaching inabilities drag us down in the playoffs every single year. Guy can't win a big game. Guy makes horrible decisions. Even the year prior to last year, when you guys made it to the Super Bowl, he almost lost the Green Bay Packer game, should have lost the Detroit Lion game, and then he unraveled in the Super Bowl. This is not a good coach. This is a great offensive coordinator. And Brock Purdy is not a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Great pocket presence. Probably better pocket presence than many starting quarterbacks that are considered elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. Great intelligence. He's above average intelligence, above average play absorption and quick thinking, above average pocket presence. And those three things make him such a threat in a good system like Shanahan's, where he's got everything around him to succeed. He's a quick thinker, great pocket presence, can avoid getting sacked, can get out of the pocket, can move around. Even just watching him navigate in the pocket, he has way above normal intelligence in the pocket. Like if he's sitting there and he feels something here, he moves around like really only a few quarterbacks in the National Football League can. This is honest talk. I'm trying to give you an unbiased take. Brock Purdy is way above average in that regard. And it so happens that his mediocre arm, with his injury concern in history that will follow him, his mediocre arm is, they can mask it, just like they can mask Jimmy Garoppolo's. The quarterback in San Francisco is always going to look better than he actually is. The system is amazing. The pre-snap motions, the pulling, all the confusion, the excitement, the quick dump-offs, the ability to get a player in open space very quickly. It's very good for his style of play. I think Brock Purdy, if the Niners had kept it all together and tried to make one more run, would have had a window to win a Super Bowl. What a bad coach and what a bad GM John Lynch is at the end of the day. I mean, Adam Peters was the guy to hold. I mean, if a Niner fan can't admit that Adam Peters is a better GM than John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan together, you are blind. And you are unfortunately wearing goggles that are this thick. If you could at least admit that, you'd be a step in the right direction. But John and Kyle are so bad that they didn't recognize that they still had a window. They still had a window to win a Super Bowl. They still had a window. Even with Christian McCaffrey, injury prone, probably not going to put together the season that some Niner fans want. You had Jordan Mason, you had Garendo, you have Kittle, you still had Debo, who I knew wasn't motivated. I get it. I wanted him out of there anyway. I do. And look who got him, Adam Peters. What do you think Debo's going to look like given Adam Peters said, yeah, we'll take him. He's still got a lot left. Do you trust me? Do you trust me and Adam Peters at the same time? Because when Adam Peters and I are thinking the same way, JD5, what happened last time that happened? When Adam Peters says, this is the guy, Debo is the guy we want, he's not done, he was not motivated, he was not used properly, but we want him. What do you think's going to happen? What kind of season do you think Debo's going to have? Who do you think misused him? The Niners had a window. That window was still open. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch dismantled the building. They dismantled the frame of the window. They boarded the window shut. They cemented it shut. And they moved on. Then they got out of that room that the window was even in. And they're starting to rebuild in another building. They're not even in that building anymore where that window was still cracked and open. They're putting themselves further away from a Super Bowl than they ever could have. And getting rid of Jordan Mason's more of the same. For what? For what? A 6th rounder and then a move up from 187 to 160, which you'll probably botch anyway because you just proved you can't draft without Adam Peters? Super chat by Sean. Off topic Dynasty trade. Just got Bucky for a 1.3. I think I smashed it. Now have Brees and Bucky. Love it. I'd take it. I'd take Bucky over the 1.3 all day long, bro. All day.
Get Buckied. 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 Oh, Bucky.
Let's open the phone lines. Dial into the phone. You want to discuss and defend your Niners? You can. I'll let you speak. I'm not mad at Niner fans. I love my Niner fans. My Niner fans are some of the best fans and supporters I have. You know, all my fan bases I love. I love every single fan base from this league. And I know a lot of you aren't even fans or not fans. Watch Debo have a career year now. Yeah, I think you're gonna see him have a really good year because Adam Peters said so. Ron Navy, you're live. What can I do for you, Ron Navy?
Hey, Smitty, what's going on?
What's up?
We're in the I'm in the tornado zone, so
be
I get
be
cut
safe.
off, you'll know I got blown to Oz.
Be safe. Why is BBQ like in timeout or hidden? Why is it? Because every message, Travis, do you know why BBQ? Oh, that's a lap on me. BBQ, hang tight. I think it was a mistake. He might already know that, but it was a mistake. BBQ got put in timeout, but I see BBQ getting all those messages are getting blocked. The gifted membership Maverick is getting blocked. Ron, what do you think about this trade? I mean, this is really cheap.
I love the trade.
I love it. Yeah. But why?
I love it because remember I told you yesterday I ran by you. I mean, could be a bad trade. Remember I traded for Stevenson and Mixon, right, for Najee. But I also have Kenny Walker, Charbonnet, and George Mason on that team too.
I gotcha.
So I think I just solidified my whole freaking running back room for the whole year. I mean, I don't need to worry about running backs, I don't think.
Gifted membership 50, thank you.
And I don't know if you talked about Walker and Charbonnet because I missed the other show or not, but when I asked what do you think, how do you think they'll do now? Yeah.
Okay, I'll break that down real quick. But thanks BBQ for the 50 gifted memberships.
That was great because, I mean, he's younger. You don't know what you're going to get out of Jones. I agree 100% with you that Jones could be injured at some point this year. He could fall off his age. I mean, so
yeah,
it's start out strong and fade. You never know.
Yeah, it's crazy that the Niners literally they put the second year tender on him so that no one would take him. Shanahan put him on IR when he pretty much had what you could consider a banged up pinky toe. Like that's how his ankle was nothing. And Shanahan put him on IR. It was such a Shanahan move. And what I tell everybody at the end of the year, they were using Debo all over the place. Running back, wide receiver, ball boy, water boy. He was all over. Kick, returning kick, everything. They just want him everywhere, all over the field. And I said, why do you think that is? They put Jordan Mason on IR to protect him, and they throw Debo to the wolves at the end of a nothing burger season. Gee, I wonder if they're trying to trade and showcase Debo and repair his image. And sure enough, they traded Debo Samuel. And putting Jordan Mason on IR was a protective move because he was balling out, and Shanahan, this awful decision maker that he is with personnel, decides to put him on IR, lessen his trade appeal, or his trade appeal and his appeal of taking him off that second round tender and the team stealing him away as a restricted free agent. And now he trades him, but trades him with less value than he could have had if he let him ball out. So what a backfire move. But a 160 pick from a 187. Who cares? Who cares about the sixth rounder? I don't think people realize that the Niners have so many compensation picks from their coaching tree being plucked apart. And that's one thing Shanahan and the team does do is they build an amazing coaching tree. I give credit where credit's due. But which is crazy that he's producing amazing coaches when he's such a bad coach himself. It's insane. But his system's so good. People absorb and learn. It's like a classroom. You go and coach for Shanahan, you learn a lot about ball. Shanahan knows a lot about football. But that doesn't change the fact that like Ben Johnson maybe, and I think Ben Johnson is every day I feel a little bit better about Ben Johnson. but he is surrounded by a bunch of non-football people in Chicago from an organization standpoint. So it's hard to know what that's going to look like. But my point being that just because Ben Johnson knows ball and his schemes are amazing, just because Bobby Slowick knew ball, he got fired. Just because Kingsbury, look how good Kingsbury is in Washington, how good he is with JD5. He got fired from Arizona, I think, too prematurely because he was still learning to be a coach. It doesn't mean you're a good coach. You can know ball. Your scheme could be out of this world. You could build great coaching trees, but you don't know personnel. You don't know how to manage the restaurant. It's like my example of Shanahan's one of the best cooks in the business, the kitchen being the offensive coordinating, but he doesn't know how to handle personnel. He doesn't know how to handle trades. He doesn't know how to do all of the things that are so greatly important to building up a franchise, managing personnel, managing morale, being able to make the right decisions, keeping players less likely from getting injured, like Ayuk, like Debo, like Bosa, like all these other contract holdout players that had horrible years when they came back. And now you got Brock Purdy sitting here in a situation. It's crazy, man. I think Brock Purdy's in a world of hurt. He's not surrounded by Trent Williams and a good offensive line. Trent Williams of old. He's not surrounded by the prime Christian McCaffrey. He has no Debo. He has no Ayuk. And even if Ayuk comes back and is ready for week one on some miracle, which I don't know that he'll be, he's not mentally there. He certainly won't be physically. You've got a Ricky Parasol who's got very little experience. We can't just assume he's going to go in and be Ayuk the year Ayuk broke out. You've got Jennings, who's the only consistent wide receiver in this receiving room. You got Kittle, who's maybe going to have one more great year, maybe not. Maybe he has two more great years. We don't really know, but he's very aggressively mean to his own body and probably gets injured at some point trying to pull all this weight by himself. This is a disaster waiting to happen. If the Niners pay Brock Purdy $50 million per year, it's going to be a debacle. It's going to be Brandon Ayuk's contract times 100 in terms of the impact to this team's future. You can't pay, and he's the last pick in the draft. He's the last pick in the draft. He has no pull here. He's under contract, and he has no pull here. You know why he has no pull? Because Shanahan loves Mac Jones. Maybe you don't like Mac Jones, Niner fan watching right now that's livid by what I'm saying. Maybe you don't like Mac Jones, but Shanahan does. Brock has no pull right here. He has no leverage, zero. So you could easily, and people don't hear what I'm saying here, you could easily say, hey, Brock, this is a tough conversation, but you're going to play for $5 million. I'm going to give you $5 million. That's nothing. Hey, John, write a check for $5 million. I'm going to set that check right in front of you. I'm going to right size you, 1 year adjusted deal to let you know that you're our guy. But we're not signing you to a $50 million a year deal right now. You are the last pick in the draft. You didn't play well. Most of that is on us, but we need to see you go out there and earn it. You're under contract. And let's say you make a mistake as John Kyle of the Niners and he balls out. Guess what? You franchise tag him. That's what the tag was invented for quarterback pigeonholing so that you can work out a long-term deal. You franchise tag him, and if you tag him, he's obviously good. If he isn't good, then you don't tag him and you let him walk, and you made a great decision because you didn't overcommit to him. But he doesn't have the resume coming off a bad 2024 that wasn't all of his fault. I get it, but he doesn't have the resume to give him a $50 million a year contract off the back of the horrible $30 million a year contract you just handed Brandon Ayuk after you dismantled your entire roster. What are we doing here? Why is everybody thinking Brock Purdy deserves $50 million while he's under contract with no leverage? Right size him. Do the right thing, Niners. Give him $5 million 1 year adjusted deal. Give him a little bit of money to wet his beak. He does deserve that at least. But you can wait a year, tag him, then sign him. And if he costs you more money, so be it. But at least you save yourself the risk of signing a man to a over $100 million guaranteed deal when you've got all this money tied up in Brandon Ayuk, who you can't even really trade even if you wanted to. Why? Because you'd have a $39 million dead cap if you got rid of Brandon Ayuk right now in a trade. Just like you got a $31 million dead cap hanging over your head because you traded Debo Samuel. And Debo Samuel did cost this team $31 million. If you ask a Niner fan, or you go to a team page of the Niners, they'll dress it up. They'll put lipstick on a pig and say, oh, we saved a lot of money getting rid of Debo. You did. It was $31 million in dead cap just to trade him. Yeah, you don't pay his future contract, but guess who wants to? Adam Peters. So what's that tell me? That Debo's got something left, and the Niners don't know it. Ron, real quickly, let me just... Ron, real quick, probably cut out on you. Let me just bring in, who is this? Is this Walter?
It's Corey.
Corey, what's up? Hey, Corey, let me just see if there's anybody else on the phone line here. Ron, call back in. I might have hung up on Ron and whoever was on the phone line. Dial back in and I'll get you in here. Corey, go ahead. You're live.
So, I'm a Vikings fan. I like the trade. How much do you think Mason plays? Like, is it 60-40 with, or? And then my other question is, do they think that McCaffrey's going to be able to play a lot? And is because Guerrero, like he gets hurt easily too. So what do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me merge these callers in real quickly. Hold on. Let me get everybody in here. See if I can merge all these at once. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I got everybody back. Sorry about that. I got everybody back in one call, I believe. Is everybody there? Who's on the line?
Yes, sir. Uncle Smitty is Dre. How you doing?
Okay, Dre, hang tight for me. Hang tight for me. Corey and Dre are on the phone. I think I got everybody on the line. I got Ron. Oh no, Ron's. Let me see if I can merge. Let me see if I can merge this call. I think I got... Who's on the line right now? I'm still trying to figure out this phone line. Who's on the line?
I am Smitty the Bruce.
Okay, Ron, are you there?
Corey.
Okay, let me see if I can get Ron in here. Okay, I think I got everybody here. I got Ron, I got Bruce, I got I don't know who else is on the line, and Corey. Corey, who's the other one? Who's the other one on the line? I got Corey, Bruce, Ron, and who?
What's up, Uncle Smitty?
Dre. Okay, hang tight, everybody. Let me answer the question, which was how much playing time will Jordan Mason get? It's a great question. I would probably say 60-40 sounds good in favor of Aaron Jones until he gets hurt. Is there a chance Aaron Jones doesn't get injured? Yeah, but he's a very injury-prone player. But I will say, I don't know if anybody remembers, this is back when I was in my old studio, but I had Aaron Jones as a top 5 running back breakout the year he broke out, and he had nothing but injury-plagued seasons. He was a complete underperformer. It was a bold take. It was one of my bold predictions. I said Aaron Jones will be a top 5 to 10 running back, and he exploded. It was a huge prediction for the show. But this is probably year 1. I want to say like 2017, 2018, I don't remember when it was, but it was in the old studio. Probably 2018, something like that. I like Aaron Jones. I've always liked him. But he, walking into that season, he had a lot of injury concerns. He got his body on point, his nutrition, and that's really kept him relatively healthy over the years, but he still struggled here and there. And I just think turning 31, probably losing a step. If he doesn't get hurt, he loses a step. You got 2 red flags. If you're rooting for Aaron Jones to carry you all year long, you have 2 red flags. And you know what I say about multiple red flags? When there's 1, it can be overlooked if you have good logic and reasoning. When there's 2, it's kind of time to maybe step away from that if the value's too high and it's not a low risk, high reward proposition. Then I'm okay with taking on red flags. But with this situation, you got Jordan Mason as another red flag. So you got injury prone, you got age taking him out, whether he stays healthy or not, and you got Jordan Mason, and then you have the Jordan Mason draft capital and guaranteed money that makes you think they're going to give him work no matter what. Why would you trade for him if you don't plan on using him? If you don't see him as an asset or somebody you feel like you need to have on the field a lot, why would you make this move and waste your time right now making this trade, organizing this trade, giving up the draft picks that the Niners felt were so vital to get in this? Why would you even spend time on this? I mean, you know what I mean? So Mason's going to be used. And then if he is explosive as he is, if he has success behind an amazing offensive line, an amazing system with an amazing coach, with an amazing stretch the field run game where the defense has the last thing in the world this defense can ever do. I don't care if he has a 100-yard game back-to-back with 2 touchdowns in each game. The last thing the opposing defense can do is come into a game and say, we're game planning against Jordan Mason. Because you got JJ and Addison and Hawkinson stretching this field. You have zero ability to worry about the run game. In fact, you're just going to say game in and game out, let the run beat us. Let the run beat us. Let it be a slow, accumulation of yards and everything versus having a JJ strike, immediately in the game and we're down 7-0. This is going to be a very good situation at the cost of entry, which I believe will still be very reasonable. I think there's going to be enough people that say, he's not the starter though, so I'm not spending capital on him. I don't know how high his ADP climbs, but I can't envision his ADP climbing into a place where he's still not a steal the entire offseason. Even if he climbed like 10 spots or 40 spots or something. Jordan Mason was really far down there. Let me pull up his ADP on Underdog, promo code Smitty, where you guys can also draft right now for 2025 and take advantage of things like this that we're talking about, where people don't, value Jordan Mason even after that trade high enough. Jordan Mason's ADP on Underdog is right at, good Lord, where is it? I'm still scrolling. Garendo's ahead of him, and I don't know if that's going to change because Garendo's going up too, right? He's now the backup. Jordan Mason 180, which is almost undraftable because, it depends if you're drafting an 18-man draft. He'll climb from that, no doubt about it. But how far up? I don't know. Maybe 10 running back spots, 20 running back spots, maybe. I don't know. He is 180 on the ADP, and I'll put that on the screen and show you the players that are around his name. So you can get out there and draft right now while his ADP is climbing, and you might still get him as a screaming steal. Here's Jordan Mason's ADP. Look at all the players that are around him on this. Jordan Mason below him, Eckler. Nick Chubb doesn't have a job. Damian Martinez is a rookie no one even knows about. He's a good player, though. Justice Hill, Kendre Miller below that. I mean, Braylon Allen above him. Ollie Gordon I like a lot, too, if he landed in the right spot. I think San Francisco could look at Ollie, too. Garendo, Giddens. I mean, that's disrespectful territory right there. Jordan Mason, after what he did last year, that's great. Okay, let me read these super chats real quick. There's 2 on screen, and then I'm going to the phone callers. Niners' plan was working until they forgot how to draft. Pearsall pick tells you the story. Pearsall pick tells you that Shanahan without Adam Peters is not as good. Everyone should know that by now. When people say Shanahan and the Niners always draft good, that's the biggest. That's like you lose $100 bill, right? You drop $100 bill out of your pocket. It falls on the ground. You lose it. Later that day, somebody says, "You lost a $100 bill, man," and they're like, "Yeah, but that $5 bill I got in my pocket, it's gonna go a long way." Like, it doesn't even make sense when you say, Shanahan and the Niners draft well. So, getting rid of Jordan Mason for a pick, for a little pick move up, it's great because we draft great players late. We'll replace it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't make any sense to even say that. What you're doing is making excuses for something that you know is bad. Phone line is open. Call in. I can't get a tone. Justin, because you're probably calling the old number. 50 BBQ. Appreciate your gifted memberships. You are the man, the myth, the legend. BBQ to the mother freaking moon. Always dropping wads and loads. And if anybody doesn't know, Kruger named BBQ. He gave a new nickname. Kruger, what's the nickname that you gave BBQ? Tell the viewers that are maybe new or haven't been watching for the last couple days. What is BBQ's nickname?
BBQ's new nickname is the Grill Master because they're leading the Super Chat with that sizzling $400 contribution. So, if anyone wants to take the crown, they've got to bring the heat and beat the Grill Master's record.
The Grill Master. That's new. You actually just made that up. What was the nickname you gave him the other night? Do you remember? It had something to do with Maverick.
Right. The nickname I gave BBQ the other night was the Maverick because they boldly took the lead and set a high bar that others are now trying to reach. It's all about being the top gun in the Super Chat game.
Yeah, he nicknamed him the Membership Maverick, the YouTube exclusive Membership Maverick, because he was dropping wads all over. Hey, what do you think about Jordan Mason getting traded to the Minnesota Vikings? What's that divide going to look like in Minnesota between Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason?
Oh, that's an interesting move. With Jordan Mason heading to the Vikings, the backfield dynamics will definitely shift. Aaron Jones is likely to take on the lead role, given his experience and versatility. Mason will probably be utilized as a complementary piece, especially in short yardage situations or to spell Jones and keep him fresh. They'll likely form a 1-2 punch, but Jones should still be the primary fantasy option.
Yeah, that's how it's probably going to start. Goal line touches. Gump's got a problem with Kruger. Gump keeps saying he doesn't like Kruger, and Gump keeps making these comments. And Gump, you're one to talk, Gump, because a lot of people say the same thing about you, and I come in and defend you, Gump, and I say Gump ain't going nowhere. I don't care who doesn't like Gump, but I defend you, Gump. What do you got a problem with Kruger for? And you haven't called in since we added Kruger. Gump has not called in one time. I don't think. Maybe he did. I don't think he did. All right, let me go to the phone line real quickly and see what you guys are thinking. We got Ron Navy on hold here. We got Bruce on hold here. Let's go to Corey. Asked the great question about the Vikings dynamic. What do I think? 60-40. I think 40. Kruger seems to think it's going to be a little more Aaron Jones at first, but I do think it'll be at least 40%. And I believe he will get some goal line work. And he showed he's a thumper. He's a guy who can get into the end zone, and I think he takes the job at some point. Let's go to Dre. Dre, what's your question, pal?
Hey, Smitty, how you doing? I just wanted to ask you, why are the 49ers blowing up this roster like this? I don't understand it. I've been listening to your shows all the time, breaking news, and I just don't get it.
I don't know, bro. That's why I'm in here blasting them left and right, because there's no good explanation. Clearly, they think they need to start spending less money, but they just how do you make this stance when you just wasted $30 million per year on Brandon Ayuk? Like, how are you going to come in and act like you're some money manager now? Like you're getting with the accountants and you decided you're gonna be a good penny pincher, when you just blew all that money on Brandon Ayuk, who's probably never going to pay you back with his play. I don't think. I think Brandon Ayuk is lost up here, and he was lost up here before he got injured. And part of it was that damn holdout. Part of me, clearly blames Shanahan and John and the Niners organization for dragging that situation out with Ayuk and turning him into a monster. He's unrecognizable. And that sometimes happens. You create animosity between the team and the player when you make a lengthy holdout that's unnecessary. Like, you could have signed him if they just used different logic and said, let's sign him earlier. They wouldn't have had to waste all that money because his price went up. And then when his price went up, the Niners' ability to go up with it didn't go up. So it created animosity. The fan base grew to hate Ayuk. And the Niner fan base, as much as they're loyal as can be, they're nasty to their players, bro. When Mostert got hurt, he got death threats. Mostert was getting awful, awful messages left and right when he got injured. And the Niner fan base is notorious for being really nasty to the players, especially when they hold out. And you might think that Brock Purdy's immune from that. Just wait and see how that goes. If Brock Purdy and the Niners have a lengthy holdout, the Niner fan base will turn on him and start saying, Mac Jones put him in, Shanahan liked him anyway. Let's go. We had a good year. I mean, good Lord, man. And there's blame to go around the organization as a whole. It's not all up to John and Kyle, but a lot is. But they had a Super Bowl window that was still cracked open. As I said on the show just a little bit ago, they had a Super Bowl window that was cracked open, and they slammed their own window shut for no reason. They still could have competed. No doubt about it. Especially in the division, they could have competed. They could have grabbed a wild card spot in the conference. No doubt about that in my mind. I don't think they would. They could win the division, I suppose. They could have if they kept it all together. But this makes no sense. And I'm getting about 40%. I'm getting closer and closer every offseason to getting 50%. I agree with you, Smitty, from the Niner fan base, which was once at a 0%, and I get blasted left and right on my Shanahan takes. 1 out of every 3, at least. We said 2 out of 5 at times. It seems, depends on the community where I'm at, IG or Twitter or YouTube. It seems to be like 2 out of 5 agree with me that Shanahan is, like Tomlin, a great coach in so many ways that's not related to the sum total of the product. Like Tomlin's, at the end of the day, a horrible coach because he can't do what's necessary. And Ron called this from the beginning, and we kind of like everybody slowly getting on board of the Shanahan hate. And it's not hate, I don't hate him, but the Shanahan disbelief, you could say, that I'm the train I'm conducting. Ron was similar, was saying he doesn't like Tomlin, he wants him out, and everyone's like, Ron, he keeps winning. It's the same thing. This is literally like identical situations. They have such good qualities and they're so far above everybody else in a few things that it outshines their faults and the things that drag them down. But there's no explanation for what they're doing. They're literally blowing up. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like you build a model and you messed up just a little piece, and instead of trying to fix it and still building it, you just smash it like some tantrum. A kid throwing a tantrum, you smash it to pieces and you start over when you didn't need to start over. You threw a temper tantrum. You had a moment and you threw a tantrum. This is Shanahan's tantrum, I guess. John's tantrum.
I know you got videos with CMC maybe on the trading block. What about do you see them shipping him off as well?
Okay, so there's a yes and a no to this. The no is it doesn't fit with trying to do any sort of winning right now, but that seems to be where they're going. It's a $39 million dead cap hit just to trade him, but then they can get rid of his contract. And if they're really worried about that, and it's a nothing burger year, and they're committing, and they look like they're committing to total rebuild, there's some sense to it saying, let's admit our wrong. We don't believe in Ayuk, so we're more worried about his contract than we're worried about 2025. And depending on when, there's certain, like, especially when you make someone a post one cut or a post one trade, like if you wait to certain time frames, you can kick half that dead cap down the road, or you can pay it all up front in 2025, which is what they'd want to do if they're cutting all the meat off the bone and they're going to go out there. But this is why, and I promise you that Niner fans will start getting on board with the wait to pay Brock Purdy, even though they act like they're not on board with that now. If you're truly going to take the biggest hit, like Ayuk's $39 million dead cap hit, Debo's $31 million dead cap hit, you take that all this year, how can you support Brock Purdy anyway? Why would you want to trigger his contract now? Why wouldn't you want to say, let's set it all 2026 and beyond. Let's build on that year. Let's let that be ground zero. Don't make ground zero 2025 when it's going to be a waste of a year and then 1 year off Brock Purdy's contract. And you don't even know if he's the real deal yet. You might pretend you think you know. You're a Niner fan. You're really invested. You want to believe. I get it. But it makes no sense. So, yeah, is there a world where trading Brandon Ayuk, if you don't believe in him at all and you want to get rid of that contract, take the hit because you've already screwed up the season anyway? So as much as I'd make fun of it when it happened, as much as it would be a disaster, it really fits with the mold of this team is toast in 2025. Why not just burn it all to the ground, trade Ayuk away, get rid of his horrible contract? But the truth is, bro, who's taking an ACL and mangled knee healing receiver that's on $30 million per year that had a head case situation going on before he tore his ACL? Is there anybody interested in Brandon Ayuk? Maybe one or two teams. I don't know. They shouldn't be. It's a waste of a contract. It's an awful deal. And Ray G says, how many more trades will happen before the A-Rod signs? I don't know, man. I keep refreshing. I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. He's just out there, having a darkness retreat by himself on the beach. All right, let me go over to Bruce real quick, then back to Ron Navy. Bruce, you're live. Mute yourself real quickly, Corey, and I'll come back to you in a second. Go ahead, Bruce.
Hey, Smitty, where do you rank this running back move between all the other ones that happened so far?
Well, give me examples, and I'll tell you which one.
Javonte.
I mean, you got to like Javonte's value more right now because he's kind of in position to start, but is he like in any more of a position to start than Aaron Jones is over Mason? Hard to say because Miles Sanders is now a Dallas Cowboy. And I don't really know that I believe in Miles Sanders, as any sort of, full season long-term option, even on 1 year. But could he complicate it? Maybe. Could the Cowboys draft a late rookie that could also get in the mix, and maybe like a Dylan Sampson just falls so far, and then I'm on that train. But yeah, I mean, I like Javonte more right now, but Mason could be that better, mid-season. He's miles above Javonte because Javonte may not be starting. I like them both. There's pros and cons. I don't think one can be real confident in saying one over the other because Javonte's got the advantage, but Mason's proven and recently proven he's a monster if they give him the football. But he's also got an injury history, So it's tough to know.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, because I was thinking, it's like, now I'm thinking about Mason going to Minnesota. Okay, so with Javonte going to Dallas and Najee going to the Chargers, I'm kind of like, okay, which one of these three has the best, landing spot and the best that they're gonna be at if their time, thinking that the Chargers are probably going to go for a running back too.
Yeah. All right, bro. Hang tight. Let me go back over to Ron Navy. Guys, if I don't put the phone number in the chat, it's because we have a full phone line anyway. I'll put the phone number up, and this isn't anyone's fault that's posting it, but I'll put the phone number up when we need more callers. Bruce, go ahead. If you got any other question real quickly, and then I'll put you back on hold. Did you have something else you want to say? Thank you, Sick Nasty, for helping on that, though.
Do you think, because like I tried to say at first before you were talking about it, I was kind of really thinking about the Vikings drafting Scotto. Do you think there's still a chance they would go for a running back?
Yeah, I don't know about how early, though.
Saying,
not first round, probably not second round. First round, probably not. Second round, probably not. I don't think this will be Vikings are going to be interested in other things. But the other thing you got to also think about, though, we haven't talked much about Grendo, and we need to talk about CMC. I think we've attacked this, and now we started out talking Niners. We tore down the Niners enough. I get it, but we haven't really talked about CMC and Grendo. But the other thing that this makes me think is that, look, this team is buttoning up a lot of things right now. Do I think there's a shot that Aaron Rodgers goes to Minnesota? There's still a chance that happens, I would say, because we don't know anything really. But where's the report coming out of? The Athletic. And who's reporting it? Diana Rossini. When's the last time Diana Rossini landed anything first? And I'm not trying to make this a anti-Diana Rossini show or anything, but if Schefter and Rappaport continuously never retweet her stuff, they never give her support, or hey, Diana Rossini's hearing this. You see Schefter and Rappaport when someone else has a rumor that looks juicy. Schefter and Rappaport will retweet it. They won't post it themselves, but they'll retweet stuff that they have confidence in. They never, ever retweet anything from Diana Rossini. Now, I know it's competitive. Maybe the Athletic and ESPN and NFL Network have some sort of beef and they don't like each other or something. That could be the reason. So there could be some bias involved. I'm not saying that. But the only source on this is Diana Rossini and other people from the Athletic, all coming from the Athletic. Why are they saying this? Why are they saying the same people that said that they were going to trade, or they were going to bring Sam Darnold back and they were going to trade JJ McCarthy, from what I gather and from what people have told me that they were reporting. So I don't, to me, this doesn't give us much, but I believe they're trying to button up everything. I believe that we would hear from Minnesota to shoot down the situation if it wasn't something they maybe talked about or they were having conversations about. Like, Minnesota could easily come out and say this isn't true or something. We haven't heard that yet. So there's probably something going on, but I don't think that it's leaning toward Minnesota more than it's leaning toward Pittsburgh or retirement. So it's really hard to say at this point where that Aaron Rodgers situation is. As for Christian McCaffrey, this move does make me believe that they're thinking about hitting the draft for another RB. And Shanahan always drafts a couple RBs in the NFL draft, not just one. He usually drafts a couple of them. So while we want to get excited about Guerendo, and I probably will get significantly excited about Guerendo, I admit that. Here's the NFL draft order. The Niners picking at 11. Is there a chance or a world where they consider Hampton? Because I don't think that Genty will be there. I think Chicago would be out of their mind crazy, especially the way they've built their offensive line almost entirely already, you could say entirely, through free agency. They don't need an offensive lineman at that number 10 pick. Ben Johnson's done a very good job building it up. That pick is meant for Ashton Genty or, I think, Hampton. If Ashton Genty goes 6, there's a chance the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson, who surprised everybody with the Gibbs pick, Ben Johnson could take Hampton at 10. Hampton's been climbing the board. Hampton would be great in Chicago. I almost feel like Hampton would be a little bit better fit in Chicago than Genty in a way, just the way that I think they want to use him, and the fact that I want Genty in a different place. And I don't believe in Geno for the long term, but I do believe that this will be a great spot for him because he can dominate later, a lot more reception work in LV than having to compete with Dunze. You got DJ Moore there. You got the potential that this could be an offense entirely built around Genty. Not that Ben Johnson wouldn't try and do a great job running, but he's got to do so much more work with Caleb. I'm still not a Caleb believer. I think he can survive in the league, but he's nowhere near a top 5 QB like so many thought he could be. It's interesting to think about what the Niners would do at 11 if Genty was gone, or if Genty was there, or if Genty was gone but Hampton was still there. It's certainly a possibility that Shanahan's trying to build for the future, and he's going to do, make some moves that people question in this draft. And given that they've drafted a receiver in round 1 last year, there's no safe, space for anybody to get. Like, you could see Genty get drafted. Like, if Genty got drafted with Christian McCaffrey there, that would be a disaster. It could be good long-term maybe, but it'd be a disaster for year 1 because Christian McCaffrey is currently set to play. It's not like he's out for the year or anything. Guerendo would obviously lose value if they bring in an early rookie. So don't put too much value on Guerendo yet, but understand that there's a lot of significant, hidden appeal, but it could be wiped out immediately. This is one of those you get kicked in the sack by the draft type of situations with Guerendo. But that's how I feel about CMC. Guerendo, the running back stable in San Francisco, definitely feel like they're going to fill it with rookies, at least one. We just don't know how high. If it's round 2, Scatterboo was your question. Scatterboo, I mean, everyone says it, not just me. Everyone says Shanahan looks at Scatterboo like he looked at Christian McCaffrey. This is a guy that he wants badly. And who knows? I doubt Shanahan's told anyone that, but that's everyone's analysis. But I agree. It makes a lot of sense. This is such a Shanahan type guy. He's gritty. He's tough. He's amazing between the tackles. It reminds you of Christian McCaffrey's game. Like, everything about him. He's not Christian McCaffrey, but remember that, he can develop at the NFL level. Remember that Bucky Irving was not Bucky Irving until he was in the NFL. He wasn't Bucky Irving in college. He was a good prospect in college. But when Bucky got into the NFL, it's like he swallowed a case of spinach and turned into a completely different player, which is awesome. And we love Bucky, and we celebrate him more than anybody. So don't think Scatterboo's like all, some like this, the sum total that makes him up is already decided and he can't grow and flourish and become a better player. So is he Christian McCaffrey? No. But you put him in this offense and he does what Mason did. He's a top 5 to 10 running back. So Scatterboo, I'm a little bit afraid Scatterboo does go to the Niners. And I say that because I don't want him to go somewhere where he's buried in the depth chart initially. And then that puts a nail in the coffin of Guerendo a little bit. So tough to say. BBQ with a $20 hauler, then back to Ron Navy. There are 3 teams in the hunt for Conrad Hurt services. Why would you pay him his asking price of $33 million? Giants can draft a QB. Vikings already have their guy. Steelers would be nuts to pay that. Thank you for the $20 super chat, my boy. We'll see what happens, man. I don't know what's going to happen with these quarterbacks. The dominoes, when they fall, change the board. So, again, a lot of people want me to explain where I think, this guy's going, where I think that guy's going, and we've nailed it pretty good. We got pretty much everything right so far. But my prediction has been the Giants get Sanders or Cam Ward in the draft, and I'm standing by that. And I think that the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers, and if they don't, then the whole board gets shuffled, and we got to come back in and reevaluate, because now Russell Wilson might be a Steeler when he's not going to be now. Then what do the Giants do? Does Joe Milton all of a sudden get traded because of that domino falling pattern? Like, that pattern could change, whether, just like when Fields was going to be a starter for the Falcons last year. And then when they brought in Kirk Cousins instead of Fields, because Fields was totally all the talk. Fields is going to Atlanta. Once Atlanta moved on with Cousins, Fields couldn't even get a job. So the dominoes falling affect all the other dominoes, and you got to rewipe the board and reevaluate it. All right, Ron Navy, you're live again. Thank you, BBQ.
Hey, Smitty.
Yo.
Yeah. Well, I want to get back to the Niners, but I want to bring this up first and take it for whatever it's worth. I was out. I had to go to the store. I was listening to the NFL channel on Sirius XM. They were talking about Rodgers, and they did talk about him preferring to go to Minnesota over everything else. But they also brought up a good point about Cousins and Atlanta letting his guaranteed $10 million go, and then putting them on the trade block because they know teams are desperate, like the Steelers. So Cousins could end up on the Steelers. I wouldn't be surprised. Plus, they also brought in Dart to interview Dart, so they could go somewhere there. That being said, now.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you the other night, is that that everyone's saying that the Cousins could get traded or cut, and I said no, because they're going to let his $10 million hit the books, and then once that happens, he's a much more tradable asset to incoming teams. Yeah. So he's certainly on the block.
Cheaper than Rodgers, probably.
Yeah, he's certainly on the block, and it's a good point though to bring him up, because if Aaron Rodgers messes with the domino falling in a certain way, then Cousins becomes readily available at that moment, whereas he might not be, if everything goes a certain way. But because you think about it, like the Steelers would want Cousins. If the Steelers have Aaron Rodgers, are the Giants interested in that? Maybe not. They might want the youth over that. Are the Browns interested in that and still taking on another contract and a player that has like a lot of money committed? They might not be able to. So the dominoes falling a certain way create opportunity that other situations don't. But if it's me, I'm going after Joe Milton. I love Joe Milton. I think if I'm the Giants, or if I'm and you could even trade for Joe Milton and still draft Sanders. I think what the New England Patriots did and what the New England Patriots have set up, I wouldn't even trade him if I was the Patriots. I think Joe Milton is that good, and if he doesn't work out, then you have Shedeur. And I even said this about New England when they didn't want to start Drake May because they didn't want to get him hurt and throw him to the Wolves, and so they decided to let him sit on the bench all year, so, or majority of the year. They thought in their mind when week one hit, so that they could not abuse him in year one and break him. And I said start Joe Milton in week one, and everyone's like, you can't do that. Why would that just? But you could have.
Problem,
you could have, because if he excelled, you'd have trade value, or if he was the real deal, you would just say this is a Breeze situation, a Drew Brees situation, a Rivers, where it's like Joe Milton ended up being way better than we ever thought, and so maybe we trade Drake May. They had an opportunity to showcase him and not damage their future Drake May option, and so I loved what New England did, and I still think he would be great. But you trade him to the Steelers, you trade him to the Giants, you trade him to the Cleveland Browns. He'd be a great player to go to the Browns, because then they wouldn't have to spend money. They could just trade draft capital for Joe Milton, see if he's the real deal, and then that way, if he is, then you can put the Deshaun Watson nightmares to rest, because that's when Trey Lance failed in San Francisco, a lot had to do with Shanahan. We won't go there. But when he failed, Brock Purdy erased the nightmares, because it didn't matter anymore once you get that replacement. So the quicker the Browns can do that, the more people will move on and stop making fun of Cleveland, and the fan base can say, we don't care. We've got our guy. We've got Joe Milton. We can do it live. And I think that's probably what should happen. And maybe Joe Milton gets kicked around later. His name was coming up weeks ago. We haven't heard much at all on Joe Milton, but go ahead, Ron, and finish what you were saying.
You don't need to. No, you don't want Milton to go to the Steelers. I mean, look at the record. We already know they can't develop a quarterback. They need a veteran quarterback. I'd love to see Cousins come in and I really, you know that, and see if he can thrive there. But Milton, he'll be like another Justin Fields, and he'll just be a disaster because we cannot develop quarterbacks in Pittsburgh. That's the bottom line. We can't do it. But
I can agree with that.
What I was going to say earlier, going back to the Niners, is really honestly, because you brought up, how I don't like Tomlin, I want Tomlin fired. Well, here's the thing, and the 49er fans need to stop going after their players. They need to say John Lynch needs to be fired and Shanahan needs to be fired.
Of course.
Because you look at, they don't learn from their mistakes.
Both of them.
This disaster, this trash can disaster, total disaster of this team, this downfall, all started because they can't learn their lesson. They did
never
it with
learn.
Bosa. They made him wait. They made Bosa
Debo?
wait. What happened? He got injured. He
Debo?
didn't play good. They made Debo wait. What happened? He didn't play good. They made Ayuk wait. What happened? He got injured, just like
And
we
didn't
thought
play
he
good.
just said he was going to. Right? So and because they don't want to pay him up front when they can get him cheaper, they always wait. They think they're so freaking smart, but they're dumb. They're absolutely idiots. They're stupid idiots. John Lynch and Shanahan are stupid idiots because they don't learn from their mistakes. And now what are they doing? They're doing trash can fire sales, and they dismantled the team because they don't know what the heck they're doing. Yeah, okay, Shanahan can coach. She can run an offense. So what? But he can't manage. The Niner ownership really needs to look at this and just fire them and start over. Get rid of Shanahan, get rid of Lynch.
You know what the
start
problem
all over
is?
Because
You know what the problem
Lynch
is?
and Shanahan aren't it.
You know what the problem is? They just extended both of them, and
Yeah, I know.
the problem is Jed York's going to give him at least one more year after this year. But that's bad for Niner fans. It sucks, unfortunately.
Yeah, they don't deserve it.
And paying
They
Purdy,
don't deserve it.
don't listen to Jolts here because Jolts won't even call in and defend himself about it. But they should pay. They need to pay. That's why Purdy needs to get paid. That is the worst thing you could do, Jolts. Paying Brock Purdy $50 million a year in this, as Ron put it, trash can environment is about the worst way to get him injured and waste all your money anyway. So garbage.
Yeah, but Smitty,
garbage approach.
Just because you make sense and say they shouldn't do it, and they shouldn't do it because of all the other stuff that they've done that they should have done, but they didn't pay early, and they lost money, and they paid more money than they should have, and got all their players injured. Guess what they'll probably end up doing? They'll probably end up doing the opposite of what they should and pay Purdy.
Okay, but here's the other thing, Ron. If they're going to pay him, just get it over with and pay him now. At least commit to it and do it early so you're not repeating the past. The worst thing they could do is drag it out.
They won't do that either.
If they drag it out and then pay him, they're repeating the past over and over again. What a disaster. Okay.
That's exactly what they do.
Let me go over to Travis real quick. Travis, you're live.
What's up, Trav?
Hey, Ron. How's it going? Yeah, quick on the Patriots. I don't think they should trade Jones unless it's like part of a deal for a player. But I don't even trust them if they got a second or third round pick back to make the right pick yet. I still have to see them be able to make picks with this front office because as of right now, Polk isn't working out, and we got to see what the linemen they took last year. Maybe they'll develop. But aside from that, though, I think like you've mentioned with the 49ers, it's almost like they're, like I said, they'll get another year just on, out of trust from Jed York. And it's almost like they're doing this rebuild now to extend their jobs out longer because they could say, we need a couple years here. And if you see a little improvement, fine. They can't expect them to be good next year. Well, we get another year on top of that, maybe one more. But I don't think they can rebuild it to a Super Bowl team unless they move on from Purdy. That was like just bite the bullet and go with a full rebuild.
Yeah.
Don't you feel, Travis, though, that they're in the same situation as with Tomlin? Is they keep giving him chances, they keep giving Tomlin chances. It's the same thing. Smitty said it earlier.
This will be the test, right? What do they do with?
Yeah, but how many years have they had already? How many years have they already had? And they've already proven all they can do is destroy everything. They destroy their players, get them injured. They make bad deals. They don't make deals that they should have up front, and they do it over and over, just like Tomlin. Oh, never losing season, but when's the last time he has a losing playoff record?
All right.
It's the same thing. It's mediocre.
Hold on one second. Let me rein it in real quickly. No, fine. Justin, thank you for the super chat. Not doing a draft show right now, Justin, but we will at midnight Eastern. Again, just for anybody that ever asked this question, we never draft during anything but the graveyard shift. That's just the way the show operates. This is a new show. I'm not a draft show. I do it at graveyard. I do separate shows for it just to make sure. But Justin, absolutely tonight. Drop the $50 hauler tonight, and I will draft against you 1v1, my man. And I'm going to ask Kruger to help me draft. And so we're going to take you down. Joe Milton, we'll see. A lot of people love to hate Joe Milton. We'll see if he ever gets his shot. I do believe if I was the New England Patriots, I wouldn't trade him because I know how valuable he is personally. I wouldn't want a third rounder or whatever they could get for him. But I do believe that New England does have an idea to say we're committing to the man known as Drake May, and we don't care about our backup quarterback. We want to build around Drake May and win a Super Bowl at some point. That's their goal. I'm not saying it's easy goal or in sight, within the next year or two, but so if they can get something good, they'll potentially do it. It's weird though that this NFL is strange, man. It's such a scaredy cat, copycat. If he was good, he would have been drafted high. Like it's strange to me that people don't have scouts in their building that think differently, and that's why I say kind of like Moneyball, how baseball got infected with finally a new way of thinking. And I think fantasy, not every fantasy mind, I'm saying like a select few people that know how to identify talent. It's just a different way of thinking, to try and project the end result. When you start looking at what is the projected production, I think you're looking at talent differently. And I think the NFL needs to start looking at it that way. I don't think the NFL does it that way. I think they see Joe Milton and they say, what's the resume? What's this? No one looks at it from the guy's got like Josh Allen type talent. The guy is Jalen Hurts meets Josh Allen type talent. You can make fun of him all you want. Joe Milton can throw 80 yards down the field in the air. We don't even know if that's the full length of his pass. We don't know. Joe Milton's got a cannon. He's also very accurate too. And he's also able to scramble, and he's a monster. He's a huge man. And this is Jalen Hurts potentially. And I think people just look at AR5 and they say, oh, running quarterback, big guy, not a lot of resume. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's just another AR5. And I'm going to blame my Joe Milton fears on AR5. I just don't understand why the league doesn't think bigger than that. I don't understand why there isn't one team right now in a QB needy team. It may be because those QB needy teams have been running their teams into the ground and they're trash organizations to a degree. Like right now they are. I'm not saying that they've been in the past, but like right now they don't know what they're doing. I know Tom Brady's trying to change things in LV, so we'll see what they do. But he doesn't have all the decision making. This is a team that didn't even draft. And you, before you start saying, Smitty, you really talking about the Raiders like that. This is a team that had, the 13 pick, I think it was? Was it the 13 pick last year? And they sat on their hands.
I believe so, yeah.
They brought in Antonio Pierce and said, oh, we'll trust you. They sat on their hands and let all of the quarterbacks fly off the board. And they went in with AOC as their starter. Yeah. So you can't tell me this organization doesn't have... that has their head on straight. They don't. They're trying to change that. I don't know how much Tom Brady has anything to do with it. Now, I'm not saying Pete Carroll's going to fail. I'm not saying Geno Smith with Pete Carroll is a disaster, but it doesn't seem like they're learning their lesson immediately. It doesn't seem like they've got their eye on the prize quite yet. It seems like they want to play good. And yes, I love Brock Bowers, and I realize that if you didn't have Brock Bowers, it would be even more different of a situation, but at the same time, you could have went and got Justin Fields. You could have got Justin Fields. You didn't. So the excuse is you can't just say Brock Bowers, or they wouldn't have Justin. What if this team had Justin Fields right now? Why didn't they bring in Justin Fields this offseason? Maybe they tried. I haven't heard they did. Why didn't you trade for him when you could have controlled your destiny? You didn't. Why don't you go get Joe Milton to back up the Geno Smith game plan? You won't. I don't understand it. What's the risk? What's the risk? Giving up a mediocre draft pick for a talent like Joe Milton that a lot of people don't understand? Why not trade for AR5 as your backup quarterback in LV? Why not give yourself another option in case this goes astray? Why, if you're the New York Giants, why wouldn't you go get AR5? You got Brian Dable that can fix any quarterback. Put him there, draft Shedeur Sanders, and double dip on the QB. I don't understand it. The Falcons got made fun of for doing what they did, but what they did saved their franchise. Even if they messed up spending a lot of money on Kirk Cousins, what they did saved their franchise. They double dipped on QB to make sure they got it right, because sometimes you miss. It's not easy. Even predicting Penix Jr. was risky enough that it was nice to have Kirk Cousins in their mind. But it's not easy landing quarterbacks. Even the number 1, number 2, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. It's not easy. Dart, you don't know if these guys are going to land. If you're a smart organization, you double dip, which is what New England did and why I wouldn't trade them. But we'll see what happens.
I feel like on paper, people will look at the Raiders and say, oh, well, they brought stability in, Pete Carroll, but Geno brings stability. But Geno also, unless they have a QB they want this year that they're convinced they can get and put behind Geno for a year or two, Geno makes it harder for you to get the next QB. And we can say what we want, but one of the biggest pieces to the equation of winning Super Bowl is having that elite QB. Now, teams can do it without him, but it's a lot harder to do. And Geno puts you closer to the middle, and you're just kind of sitting in that mediocrity again. So, we'll see what they do, but I'm not a big fan of them bringing in Geno for that reason. I get why they did it, but I don't think it gets them that much closer to being a true contender.
Yeah, how is Geno Smith going to take you to a Super Bowl? He's not. So, right. And I can understand still wanting Geno as you develop the team, right? So put your backup plan in place. If you get Joe Milton or AR5, and I know everyone's going to make fun of AR5, but he's not your starter. You're bringing him in as a project. You're bringing him in as a backup plan. I could get both of those guys, one of those guys, and put them behind Geno so that if Geno doesn't work out amazingly, you shift gears. It doesn't make any sense. Milton's sitting there for the taking, and no one sees him. I don't understand it. I don't get it. He's got the arm talent. It's again, copycat league. Everybody trying to compare him to AR5. It's a comparative league too. They're trying to compare him to AR5. He's AR5. AR5 didn't work out. Just like when everyone says don't draft Genty at 12 overall in a fantasy draft because MHJ didn't earn his value. So I'm scared. I'm a scared Scotty. I won't draft Genty. Give me my milk bottle, my pacifier. I'm scared. Scared money don't make money. Genty deserves to be a top 12 pick in fantasy 2025 redraft. And he's a top 5 overall pick in Dynasty. And MHJ has nothing to do with it. All right, boys, I'll be back later tonight. Any final takes before I kick the phone line and wrap this up? I appreciate everybody on YouTube, everybody on X. Everybody on X, please venture over to YouTube and subscribe because I don't always go live on both. So we've got about almost 450 to 500 total. And we had about 350. We have about 275 now on YouTube. My X people, get over to YouTube, youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show, and subscribe and be ready to go. Travis, final thought?
Yeah, no, I'll just say in the chat, holy cow, he makes a good point. Because Pete Carroll's in his 70s. He's not building for the future. Realistically, if everything went great, I guess he could be there for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. But it's a decent point. He's getting older, and so it's almost like they're just trying to get things on the ground level now and then go from there. But if you don't have an avenue to the bottom, it's hard to get a great QB.
I agree.
If you're in that spot, like you said, why not have an AR5 or a Joe Milton who could potentially be that top 5, top 10 QB? So we'll see what they do with the draft. But
I don't get it. Milton was a 3-year senior, says Clint. Clint, you know who stayed in college long? Bo Nix. You know who stayed in college long? Michael Penix Jr. Clint, you know who took 5 years to get their 4-year degree? Me. What, am I a moron? Do I not deserve to be in my seat because it took me 5 years to get my 4-year degree? I was withdrawn from classes left and right as a freshman and sophomore. I'd find the class that I could slip out the back, sign the attendance sheet, and get out of there. And I would withdraw from classes that didn't allow that. Does that make me a bad person, Clint? Stop being negative. Joe Milton could run circles around half the quarterbacks in this league that are starting. Travis, Sick Nasty wants to know, what MHJ card did you get against Smitty? Do you remember what MHJ card I got, Travis?
Yeah, it was a Bowman U or Bowman University first autograph.
What's that looking like?
What serial number you had? I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'll look it up and find out.
I don't remember.
Hopefully he can.
It's probably pretty good. If he does well this year, it'll explode because it's hard to get autos with him. I don't know if he signed any contracts. I don't know if he signed any cards this year yet because of that dispute.
Yeah.
With the card makers.
All right, I'll be back.
It's rare to have an autograph card on him.
I'll be back in about 2 hours. All right, later. Ron, any final thought?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if the Raiders defense shows up, they just sign Cosby. Geno, well, I mean, if Fred Dilfer can take Baltimore to a Super Bowl and win it, and you got other sub quarterbacks doing it, all he's got to do is manage. Geno can do that. If the defense steps up, he's got the best, arguably the best tight end in the league.
That was a different time, though.
He's got pieces, and if they draft a running back, they could have a chance. I'm not knocking. I'm not saying they can't. And Pete Carroll's a young 73. He's fit. He's like, they have a possibility, but it's going to be tough because, I mean, arguably, San Diego's getting better. Raiders, I think, are getting better. Denver's definitely getting better, and then you got Kansas City there. So that's like one tough division.
All right, Ron. We'll see you tonight. Appreciate you.
Later.
Yeah, I think it was a different time. I don't think there's any Super Bowls happening with this current team that the Raiders are putting together. If they improve their quarterback situation, it would be different. Jacoby Myers ain't leading a wide receiver room to a Super Bowl, or let alone even a championship game or anything even close. But I do agree with Ron's sentiment that the team could be a lot better. And from a fantasy perspective, I don't mind Geno for Brock. I think Brock Bowers will be okay. I think Genty going there would change the dynamic of it. So that draft selection hasn't been, we haven't seen that land yet. If they do end up bringing in a better quarterback, if they had Genty, Bowers, and a better quarterback, then I would like it. I'll see you all later. Appreciate you. Be back tonight. Subscribe if you're new. I'll be back tonight. I'm live whenever big news breaks. So if Aaron Rodgers news happens, we'll be live on that. And Justin, as long as there's not a breaking news show that we're going live on instead, I'll draft against you, no problem. Appreciate all my super chatters. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. Thank you, BBQ, for the $20 hauler and the gifted memberships. Everybody, thank BBQ. Drop the BBQ emoji in the live chat. It's right here, by the way. Here's the BBQ emoji. He's the highest super chatter on the year in a single live stream with $400. Anybody wants that emoji, I'll make that your emoji if you drop a 401. So thank you, BBQ. Ray G, Justin Rush with the 2 super chats, BBQ and Sean. Appreciate you all. See you later. Be back in like 2 hours.